In this demo, I'm going to show you not only how to connect to your Sage Intacct data in Excel, but then how to utilize Claude in Excel for advanced and rapid analysis. So essentially combining Claude and Roghnu for advanced analytics capabilities. Now in this video, I'm assuming that you already have the Claude add-in in Excel, which you can see here. If you don't, that's okay. It's really easy to add. You can just search for Claude in Excel, find the download page. You can go to Microsoft Marketplace, search for it there, and just add it. This video also assumes that you have the pro version of Claude because you need at least that to work with Claude in Excel. And keep in mind too that Claude not only works in Excel, but also PowerPoint. But in this video, I'm going to focus on Excel. So to begin with, we're going to bring in some data to work with here. So go to Data, Get Data, and I'm going to open up the Power Query Editor. Okay, so let me expand this out here. In the Home tab, we're going to go to New Source, Database, and SQL Server. And you're just going to add in the server. And this is optional, but you can add in the database as well. I'll do that. Click OK. And for this demo, I'm going to only bring in a single table. And so let's do the GL entry, something with really interesting data in it. Click on that and click OK. Now, what we're going to do when we load this is we're going to load this table to a spreadsheet. So the physical table will actually be in the spreadsheet. We're not just making a connection to it, loading it to the data model, because Claude does not have access to the data model. It does not have access to the data connections. And therefore, it also does not have access to any DAX measures that you create. So what it's able to do is work with any physical data, any physical tables in the spreadsheets themselves. Now, what that means is the data that you import needs to be no more than essentially 1 million rows. So if your table has more than that, what you can do is you can filter it down based on what makes sense for you. Maybe look back, a few years or however long, or filter it by category. And one of the ways you can determine the number of rows that your table has, because if you look down here, this just tells us it has basically over 1,000 rows, which doesn't really tell us much. But if I go to transform and count rows, it adds this step here, and here we see this table has a little over 500,000 rows, so we're good. So I can delete this step here, and then I'm going to go ahead and close and load. Just close and load, not close and load to. So close and load, and this again is going to create this physical table on the spreadsheet here. Okay, so our data is now loaded into the spreadsheet. So I can scroll over, I can see all the columns that we have here. It's a lot of columns. So here, this is a lot of data. And it would be difficult to do an analysis of this. Even with pivot tables, it takes time to input the different fields and to break it down. So we're going to use Claude to do some rapid advanced analysis. So I'm going to go to Home and click Claude. You see that box open up here. Now you see there is Opus 4.6 and Sonnet 4.6. Opus is its more advanced model, so Opus enables more advanced analytics, so I'm going to use that. If you're doing lighter work, you'll probably want to use Sonnet because there is a rate limit, and so if you're using Opus, you're going to hit your rate limit sooner than if you use Sonnet. And I believe that rate limit gets refreshed every 5 hours or so. But still, even with the basic rate limit, it still allows you to do a lot of analysis before you hit that limit. So let's say I have a specific question in mind. Let's just say, what vendor did I pay the most last month? And the nice thing about Claude here is that you'll see its steps. I'll expand this out. You'll see it thinking, and it tells you the steps it's taking. So it's looking through the data, it's assessing it, then it's going to analyze it, and it's going to tell you exactly what it's doing. And sometimes it'll ask you if you want to proceed with a particular step. If it involves, for example, deleting data, it'll prompt you, do you want to accept, allow Claude to do this? Or do you want to allow it once, or do you want to always allow it? And the nice thing about this too is that Claude will basically will troubleshoot and correct its own work in the process. So it might create a table that analyzes your data and then realize there's an error, a mistake, or it wants to do something different. It'll notify you about that. And again, it'll prompt you to see if you want to allow it to make that change. You see it's getting this right. It says last month will be March 2026. That is correct because we are currently in April 2026. All right, and here we have it. So that took what, less than 2 minutes, maybe a minute, to analyze this data. And here and you'll notice it actually went above and beyond what I asked. I just asked which vendor did I pay the most last month. Well, here it gave me a top 10 list, or here we have top 11 with the number one here at the top. Now, of course, anytime you're doing work like this, you'll want to do some testing, make sure that Claude is calculating everything properly. And here it gives a summary of the answer. Now its output here is within this box. What if I want this table that it created in a spreadsheet, and I want that table to be dynamic where it updates when the data is refreshed? Well, I can tell Claude to do that. So I'll say, take the table you created and add it to a new tab. Make sure it is dynamic so that it updates when the data is refreshed. All right, we'll just tell it to do that and see what happens. All right, here we created the vendor summary tab. Notice that it's building out actual formulas. Again, that's what's going to make it dynamic. All right, it's starting to create that table. And then next, it should populate it. The fact that it lists out what it's thinking, so to speak, is really helpful because that gives you something when it's done, you can scroll back up and look through its process of everything it was doing. And so you can double check things. It's a great way to learn Excel as well. Very helpful. Keep in mind too that this is currently in beta. So this is only going to improve. It's going to get better as they continue to work on it and it goes out of beta. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so it's done. It created the table that I asked for. And again, we could scroll up here and we could look at all the steps of the things that it did, right? And assess that. This looks good. Now, sometimes you're not always gonna, as it is with AI, you're not always gonna get the exact same result. So there's a previous time where I asked it to do the same thing, to create the table that you take the table that you created, add add it to a new tab for me. And not only did it create the table, but it also created a chart based on the table. It didn't do that here, but we can tell it to now create a chart based on this table. All right, so here if I scroll down, here's the chart. It's a rather big chart. I can adjust that, make it smaller. And here we have our visual.
For more information on working with Roghnu and exploring how the data portal can help you get the most out of Sage Intacct alongside your other critical business data, scan the code on the screen or click in the link in the description.